Well, hello, everybody. Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And today I want to talk about a couple things that happened in the last week or so. One of them was with the Vatican coming out with a new set of norms about how they want to go about looking at mystical events, supernatural events, reported phenomena around the world having to do with the Virgin Mary or saints or anything else that the visionary or the person receiving these messages or having witnessed these events claims to have had happen. So what the Vatican wants to do is take a lot of this out of the bishops' hands locally. They want them to come up with the facts of the situation, the report on it, send it to the Vatican, and they'll decide whether or not this is worth looking into or not. They're taking it away from the bishop because I don't think they really have the confidence in the bishops to back up their totalitarian efforts that they're doing at this Vatican administration. There's a lot of problems inside the walls of St. Peter's right now. It's been going on for quite some time. It has to do with lavender mafia, as it's called, and these are things that have systemically gotten into the administration at the Vatican and are changing things and are making it more to their feelings of things rather than what the world is feeling. So I think there's a definite disconnect that's going on here, and that lays into the next part of what I want to talk about, and that's what everyone knows about the man named Harrison Butker, who made a commencement speech at Benedictine College or University, and he was asked to come and be the keynote speaker at the commencement. He was asked to come and deliver his thoughts and feelings and advice to the graduating class. He accepted this invitation to go as a Catholic man of faith, to go to a Catholic university and talk to Catholic people graduating from this Catholic university about his feelings on his life and what he thought was going to be good advice for these young people going forward. Now, what he talked about was the state of affairs that's going on in the world right now, and a lot of it about what Catholics are dealing with this particular president and administration in the Oval Office. And this man claiming to be a good Catholic, and other bishops and others, sort of backing him up and not shutting him down. They talk a little, but they don't do anything. And this is, I think, part of what has been put into the mix, as I talked about before, with the blending of government and the church that has happened in the last 500 years. There's become this, this convenient relationship to where, we will talk a big game, but, eventually we'll just let it all die off in the public discourse, and hopefully it'll all go away and people forget. So Mr. Butker went up there and he talked about obvious things that we all know are true with this particular president, his failings, his declaration of being a Catholic, and his policies that go against everything that the Catholic Church is trying to put forward regarding sanctity of life issues and other things along that nature. I mean, that's a major enough effort right there to just have somebody excommunicated, but the church is too weak to do anything about it. And we pray for them to gather the strength to do the right thing in this, because what they're doing is they're losing their commitment in the eyes of the faithful who are not filling the pews anymore. And for good reason. They've lost confidence, and they don't see the leadership that they're expecting. And so they figure, what's the point? And I understand that. Now, when Mr. Butker got up and talked about not only the president and the state of affairs with our government and our leaders in that regard, he also then went on to the back end of his comments there as he was exiting his speech. He talked to the women and also the men about the possibility of choosing a vocation as being that of a mother. And there's nothing wrong with that. He was speaking the truth. Many, many women out there who go for these, university trainings and these degrees, they get out in the workforce a little bit, but then their natural yearnings come about. They want to be naturally, their tendency is to be a mother, to be a nurturer, to do these things. And many times it goes against what the people in the university platforms were trying to promote, was the prominence of women, the ability for them to not, need a man, that they can live life, on their own, that they can do this. And that might work for some people, but for a lot of people, their natural yearnings are not able to be put down. They really need to follow their natural course. Now, this has been proven in the Sweden studies. A lot of people may have not have heard about this, but beginning back, it was a concerted effort in the 60s, but it really got going in the 70s, to where in Sweden, what they wanted to do was to take away sexual barriers. They wanted to even things out. And so they wanted to promote men more, to get them to go into softer services like nursing, things like that, where being a male nurse is a great asset in a hospital situation. I can tell you from my own experience of having been a patient and also having helped care for my brother when he was going through his end-of-life period in the ICU. To manage these patients in a safe and sane way, to keep them clean, to change their beds and everything, takes, 2 adults. And many times these nurses are strapped. They've only got themselves. And so it gets to be pretty troubling. And the nurses are usually not very large. And so that becomes even more difficult physically for them. So to have the male nurses there who can help with the lifting and the physical work, in addition to their other skill sets, is a great asset to have, the physical capacity. So that being what it is, the women were encouraged to go out and do more of the physical type work, the outside type construction or field work and things like this. Well, they let this program go for a while to move these people into these different types of workloads. What ended up happening? Naturally, what happened was these men and women went back to more traditional roles that had been of their grandparents and great-grandparents, the traditional female roles in the home and the traditional male roles in the workplace. Men are designed to do the heavy lifting, the heavy work, the strong man stuff. Women are more designed by their nature to do softer skills, detail work, bigger picture, I think, kind of thinking, but it doesn't really pay off because their experience doesn't show them the actual work involved in doing a lot of these physical things. So good intention, but lack of experience. But what ended up happening was the men drifted away from the nursing services and things like this, and the women drifted out of the physical work. And right now, there's a 20-to-1 ratio in nurses in Sweden right now, female to male, which had been at about 50-50 at one time. But it's gone back to the more traditional roles. And the same thing in the women's lives. They've gotten out of the physical work, running machines and things like this. They're back into the softer sets of work, less physical, more mental in nature. But what they do have is a declining divorce rate that has happened here in the last 15 to 20 years. As these roles have gone back to the more traditional sets, the divorce rates have gone down a bit. So we're hoping that that tendency keeps up with it, and people are actually moving themselves to having happy and joyous lives, and not just ones where they feel that they have to do something because somebody else tells them that they need to do that this way because we need change. And what we really need is just more discipline in our lives, and people to realize that life's a bitch and then you die. And there's no easy way through it. So what we need to do is figure out how to lessen that bitch factor in living and make it more joyous. And this is what I think the academics are missing out on, is that life by its nature is a struggle. Life is hard. Ask anybody. It's tough. So we're seeing the evidence is coming in, and by the same token, as the divorce rate in Sweden is going down a bit, is starting to the downward swing, the divorce rate in this country is up, up, up. And so right now, what came out of this thinking in this delivery of the speech that Mr. Butker delivered the other day? Well, he told women that it's a great thing, and he really appreciates his own wife for having made the decision to forego a professional career to be a mother and homemaker. And this has been derided across the platforms from a lot of people who are watching this and wanting to shut down and cancel Mr. Butker for saying these things. Well, let's go back a little bit to the beginning. Mr. Butker was invited to be a speaker at this university in their commencement. He showed up and he delivered a beautiful speech that the world is resonating with right now. Why? Because he spoke the truth. Men, I think, a solid 70% of the male population out there would like to have what he talked about, is to have the love of a woman and the nurturing capability for her to be home and to raise the children in a proper way, in a proper manner, with discipline and with character and love, that is missing in these daycare centers and other institutional type drop-off points that have been instilled in society. Daycare rates it basically invalidates your one of the wages in a home. You're paying as much to have somebody watch your kid as you're making that day at work. So where's the advantage? So we have to look at these things and reevaluate our costs and consequences as we're going forward right now. So Mr. Butker delivered his statement, and basically when I listened to it, it was a statement about the situation in the world and a call to reflect on your own values internally, each of us. Take a look around. Notice the truth about what's going on and evaluate. How did we get here? How did you get here? How do you move through this? And so we have to be careful about these things as we go forward. Stop it. And got my dog here. And what Mr. Butker said was obviously and painfully true for a lot of people. And it caused a reaction, especially then in the administrators and the women, these nuns who run Benedictine. And they came out and said it was divisive, and it was not what they value and what they think for their women to go out and be these professionals in the world. These ladies know nothing. They know nothing about the world. They've been inflated so much with so many people coming around and telling them, oh, sister, you're so wonderful. You're doing such a great job. They haven't been told the truth in so many years. They believe the rhetoric about how great they are and how they're doing such a beautiful job. When in actuality, what they're doing is they're holding their women back, and they're dismissing a whole vocation that was set before for great tradition of having a strong woman with the backing of a strong man in love to raise children in the formation of God and the Holy Spirit. Now, when these nuns came out and basically said, that they don't go along with what Mr. Butker had to say, they basically shot a double middle finger to the Blessed Mother. So the Blessed Mother took a house and made it into a home, and she helped raise a holy family along with her spouse, St. Joseph. And they want to sit there and say that that model is not valid anymore and that is dismissive of women. They have no idea what they're talking about. Correction needs to be taken here, and I'm hoping that the dad brains wake up and give these nuns a valuable message here and shut the money off. So what happened after that speech? Well, besides the obvious of the comments going back and forth, the world voted. Well, the immediate world voted in that instant. A standing ovation for Mr. Butker and his comments. And I looked at the size of the graduating class. My high school graduating class was larger than this group. But they filled basically a gymnasium with the family and the participants in the graduation ceremonies. But Mr. Butker was there talking at a Catholic university to a Catholic group about Catholic values. And he was saying, look, we need to stand up for this. We have to stop being so nice about stuff, because being nice, and for the value of trying to be considered nice like these nuns are doing, you're losing the game because you're losing all the credibility. These nuns threw it all away. They had it and they threw it all away. And I'm convinced right now they're only after a fundraising effort by coming out on the other side of this issue right now. So because they're going against family values and the Holy Family in particular, and the virtues that are supposed to be taught to us and what we're supposed to be emulating in our own families to try to raise a holy family out of this muckety crap that we've got to deal with in this world right now. A lot of it is self-created and a lot of it's not. A lot of it's been brought down from the top. So we need to resist on these things. We need to use our intellect. We need to use our knowing of what is right and what is wrong and stand up against it. Now, the immediate room stood up and cheered. They loved what they had just heard. And the people who got wind of it out in the media and around the world, in the next 48 hours, Harrison Butker's jerseys for the Kansas City Chiefs, number 7, sold out. You couldn't get one anywhere. Amazon was out. All the sporting goods stores were out. But they sold out of the women's sizes first. The women were the one that loved this message so much that they wanted to endorse this man by putting his name on their back. Now, that's a great vote of confidence. And these nuns who were supposed to be the drivers of intellect at this university missed all the signs. They missed it all. They totally screwed the pooch on this thing. Now, that's their fault. They can correct it. They just have to use their words. And we want to see their actions. Because right now, I think what they've done is they basically given a double-barreled middle finger to the Blessed Mother and to mom place who have given up their chance at a career in lieu of the opportunity to go raise great kids with a great man and to try to build, a great holy family in their own communities. These are the building blocks we need. We don't need somebody else out there to be an HR director someplace doing soft selling, services for people who are being coddled all the way through. We need tough people to stand up and do things. These nuns are not doing it. So I don't have much of any respect for them right now. Just because you put on a piece of cloth and call yourself a nun doesn't make you a nun. I went through that in a court case in Indianapolis in 2014 with a woman by the name of Patricia Fuller, who called herself a Catholic nun, showed up every day in a Halloween outfit, claiming that she was a dedicated nun when she was none of that. And the judge allowed it, even though he was told by the appellate court that she couldn't do it. The judge still allowed it. It was a total farce. I felt like I should have been handing out Snickers bars each day as Halloween candy at this thing because it was such a farce. But that was what it was. And the world would have seen this, but there wasn't a single priest or bishop or anyone who from the church who came to watch this event. Ted Flynn showed up for a day, who runs a magazine called Signs and Wonders, and there were a couple other friends who stopped in for a day or so, but that was it. Over 3 months, there wasn't anybody in that courtroom really until the last day when we gave closing arguments. Then everyone wanted to come and hear what I had to say. And we'll talk about that someday too. But the hypocrisy and the hyperbole that's going on around this is just nutty. I predict that this Mr. Butker is going to be one of the most sought-after public speakers. He got canceled by the NFL for his comments, which, hey, they'll let a guy who ran his automobile at 120 miles an hour on a Dallas highway and caused a big traffic problem for 6 other cars, and I don't know if somebody died in that thing or not, but the man ran. You know, he's a star player for the Kansas City Chiefs. They didn't have anything derogatory to say about that guy. But Mr. Butker stands up and says, hey, ladies, it's okay to be a mom. Oh, got to shut that off right now. Don't be talking about that crap. No, can't have that. Folks, the world's messed up. The snow globe is being shook up. You got to make sure you stay stable on the inside there. Don't let these factions come out and sway you. Write your letters. Let your leaders know, your bishops in particular, know how you feel about this and that you want their comments on this on the record. They can't just, keep kicking this can down the road. I told you before, all these people around the world are having these things that are going on. Mr. Butker arrived at his situation. He didn't seek to be a public speaker, but like he said, Jesus gave him this platform, and now he's stuck with it. And he's right, because I didn't want to have anything to do with this devotion of Our Lady of America, but it kept falling back in my lap to bring it back. Everyone was sitting there wanting to shut it down, and had my local bishop was lying about me on national TV, worldwide television, and then the next bishop comes in and he's saying go, and up until the time when he comes in 2 years later and says, nope, not going to have any of that, none of that. It's all been shut down. Well, there's a backstory on that too, but there's no real strength of character that's going on with this, and they need to stand up and they need to stand firm on this stuff. So much is being taken away. They're going to take away, I believe, Medjugorje. I think they'll take away all these other things and condemn them in the spirit that they're going at right now. I just don't see it lasting. These tendencies right now are to shut things down and bring things back into a tight little grouping here rather than letting the Holy Spirit do its work. So I have to ask, what are they thinking? And so we'll get into that more, but right now it's about Mr. Butker and his statements here, which I can't find any fault with, but apparently these ladies at Benedictine think that it was just outrageous and they want to shut it off and all like that. Well, they knew exactly what they were doing when they invited this man in. And I believe that they had a plan that if the world at large went one way on their comments, they were going to shut it back. If the world agreed with it, they said, well, that's great. He's our guy. But when the comments started going the other way, they hopped on that surfboard and started surfing it. And I'm sure they got their hand out looking for donations. So follow the money. Be careful what the words are used, because words matter. And I think that if you haven't watched the Harrison Butker speech, you should watch it in its entirety. Don't take a clip of it. Watch the whole thing, because this guy, I think, was inspired by the Holy Spirit to give this message at this time. And more men are picking up on it. And you know who men are picking up on it the most? The black community. These men want to be dads. They're tired of watching the world take their credit away from them and call them, baby daddies and nothing more. They want their sons, they want their daughters, they want to be the men in their lives. Let them back in. Somebody's got to make the first move. So, anyway, tough stuff today. We'll come back on it. We're going to see how this thing goes, but there's trouble going on in the world right now, and it's in the language, and it's in the communications, and it's in these camps. Now, if anyone was divisive in that speech, it was in these nuns at the college who determined it to be that way. The only people who were considering divisive outside of that were the voyeurs, the other people outside who weren't invited to the event. The message wasn't targeted to them, but these other liberals out there and other people who want to come in and attack, they're saying that he was saying it to them and he's putting them down. They weren't even invited to the party. They weren't even to talk about it. They put their nose into it themselves. They invited themselves to the party, and they have hijacked the message. Now, what they need to do is understand the spirit in which that message was given and why it was given in that way and what these words mean, because they obviously don't have a clue. So, let's see what happens here this next week, and we'll double back on this and see what the world has had to say in the next 7 days on that. But in the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.